Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon to one and all. Uh, Thank you for attending the structural analysis gate classes. Today's session is the fourth session for us. We will start the arches here, and then we will see some more important definitions and then formulas in arches. That is in our unit, whatever we learned in structural analysis 2. And then simultaneously we see some more equations from slope deflection method and moment distribution method. These all topics we will cover in structural analysis. Here for this Prerana gate classes, we will observe here there is a number of points that has to be observed here. In structural analysis one, what we learned, that is strain energy, and then some Castigliano's theorem, and then some more equations that we had to learn determinate structure, whether a building is a determinant or indeterminate, or a frame is a determinant or indeterminate. That all we learned in here. Now we'll see in arches what are the different conditions that has to be applied here, and then how the each and every condition that has to be will solve here. Okay, see here first of all what is meant by arch, where we had to see this type of arches. Okay, beam that will be transfers the applied load to end supports by bending and shear actions. In this process, either one or two joints or either one or two points at a particular section which are subjected to a maximum stress. Whatever the load stresses that has to be obtained here, that all will be applied here. In a beam, beam is nothing but whatever the loads that will be carried on the floor, slab, that will be forwarded to the beam. That beams will be transferred to the other supports, that is side by supports or columns, to the ground. Okay, beam that transfer the applied load, whatever the load is laid, to the end supports by bending and shear action. In this process, either one or two points at a particular section are subject to a maximum stresses. The material in the most of the positions is under stressed and under utilized one only. In light of it, for larger spans, if you see for flat slabs on larger slabs, beams are very uneconomical, and many times the self weight contributes to the stresses. For such larger spans like bridges, arches are provided instead of beams, since material is efficiently utilized in the arches due to axial force developed. Suppose, for example, if you observe our normal floors, normal commercial buildings, we will use only the beams only. For whatever the load is acting on the building, that load will be acting to the beam, and then that beam to transfer to the side supports. If you take the same condition for a large spans like our bridges, and then for our whatever the highway conditions, there we had to use arches only. Why we use the arches here means the total load, whatever the load is acting on that building, that on the bridge, that will be carried out to the supports, and then that whatever the load, that is a continuously moving load, will be observed on that bridges. The total load will be comes to the columns, and then that columns to the supports we'll see. Okay, here arch is nothing but there will be a curved path, and then normal straight line, different types will be there. An arch is a curved beam in which horizontal movement at the supports is wholly or partially prevented here. Whatever the horizontal movement is there, that horizontal movement at the support, it will be considered partially, or some cases it will be prevented. Hence, there will be a horizontal thrust induced at the supports. In this condition, we will see the arches is divided into three types: 3-hinged arch, 2-hinged arch, and fixed arches. These are all the different conditions that you have to observe here. 3-hinged arch and 2-hinged arches and fixed arches, we will see one by one here with formulas. 3-hinged arch is nothing but it is a statically determined structure. Why will tell this is a statically determined structure means 3 hinges will be there. That 3 hinges will obey the 3 equilibrium conditions. That is, our equilibrium conditions are 3. 3 minus 3 equal to 0. Then our 3-hinged equation is a statically determined structure. Okay. As the arches has transferred load to the abutments, abutments is nothing but the columns. As the load, arches transferred the load to the abutments at springing points, and that is a starting point. 2 hinges may be provided at this point. Only 2 hinges will be provided here, and the third hinge will be provided at the topmost point, that we will call as a crown. Okay. I will show the diagram also. In 3 hinged arches, there is a 2 hinges will be there, left side and right side, and the third hinge will be at the center point, that will be at the top. Okay. 3 hinged arches may have different shapes, and then commonly used shapes are circular arch and parabolic arch here. The analysis of the circular arch is nothing but from the property of a circle, the radius of the R and the circle arch of a span L and the rise H may be found here. And then taking the origin at the support A, the coordinates of the point D, the arch may be defined as a R minus H. Here you can observe here, this is a normal 3 hinged arch, this is a circular arch. In these 3 hinged arches, if you can observe clearly here, A point is one hinge and B is the another hinge, and the third point will be at the crown, that is a C is the crown. Here one more hinge will be observed. This is a 3 hinged arch. If you take the circular arch, here for this circular arch, you have to consider total our distance between these two will be, our equation is R minus H. R is the radius of the circle and H is the height, that is rising from which point to which point. This is a total R minus H. Here this total will be the 2R minus H bottom direction. Only this direction, what is this total distance Y we will call as the R minus H. Whenever we are constructing an arch, had to take by using this formula whether we are constructing the 3 hinged arch or a circular arch. Based on that, we had to take here, and then we had to find some parabolic arch. How we will get the distances? That is what is each and every point. How we had to calculate the distance. Now we'll see the analysis of the parabolic arch from the property taken by the springing point of the origin. Our formula, our equation is y equals to 4hx by L square into L minus x. This equation will become under from the circular arch only. Whatever the y distance, wherever we are taking some at a distance of x, the y is the vertical distance that has to be find. Y equals to 4 times h into horizontal distance x divided by the total L square into L minus x. This equation will be come by using the circular equation only. If the crown is an origin, then the equation of the parabolic arch is given by, you have to remember this equation, ma'am. For a parabolic arch, y equals to 4h square by LC or 4h into YC. YC also you can take this one, 4h into YC or LC. Like that, you have to take x by L square into L minus x. And then if you take that XC will be at center, x equals to L by 2, y equals to h. Both will be same here. Then our equation is L square by 4h equals to y. L square by 4h equals to a, I am considering here. Then x square by y equals to L square by 4h. That is our equation in the springing equation. Here x square by y equals to constant. That x equals to, we can write like this also, square root of y, that equals to constant. And then we are applying the equations, applying the equation of the points at a and b. Then our constant equation will be L1 by root h1 equals to L2 by root h2, or otherwise directly we can take L1 and L2 will be the total distance of L. L equals L by square root of h1 minus h2, and then we will consider, if suppose we will want total separate distance of L1 and L2, then our L1, the distance between the A to E, here the two columns, two supports are at unequal distances, okay, not at same level. For this type of the condition, our formula will change. If the two supports are at same level, our equation is the same. Y equals to 4 into h into yc by or L x by 4hx by L square into L minus 2x. Okay, here we will find the first distances of L1 and L2. L1 equals to square root of L into root L1 by root h1 by h1 plus h2. If you take L2, similarly, L2 also same, L2 equals to L into H2. The distance of the H2 we had to take here, H2 divided by H1 minus H2 here. That is the distance we had to cover, and then we had to calculate it like this. Now we'll see the simple analysis of the static loads here. For a simple problem, we had to consider here. This is a 3 hinged arches only, but the load is acting of 2 point loads and 3 point loads and 1 UDL. Here we are considering a 3 hinged arch subjected to a load as shown in figure. Among the 4 unknowns that can be found by using the 3 static equilibrium equations. The 3 static equilibrium equations are already we know, sigma x and sigma y, and then sigma m equal to 0. But the remaining, the fourth, what are the fourth unknown force that will be the, what are the fourth unknown forces will be, can be obtained by applying the sigma c equal to 0, sigma mc equal to 0. Here you can observe here clearly sigma fx equal to 0 and sigma fy equal to 0 or sigma ma equal to 0. Moment will be at two conditions, ma and mb, that will be equal to 0. And then sigma mc equal to is also 0. We are taking the c as a hinged one here. And then we are considering a section of at a distance of x here. For that, we have to draw the free body diagram for this section. What are the forces will be acting here? If you consider this one, you can observe here that clearly the what are the distance, vertical direction by VA and horizontal one, another one more load is acting here. And then at D also we are getting the same, whatever the distance is horizontal and vertical one. And then this will be positive sense or of shear, we can observe here, normal shear and positive shear. V will be the vertical shear and Q be the radial shear and N is the normal shear. Our equation is to find the normal shear and radial thrust, or radial shear and normal thrust. N equals to V sin theta plus H cos theta. And then Q equals to, you can observe this one, Q is the radial shear, that radial shear equals to V cos theta minus H sin theta. In arches, you have to remember only the two formulas now. One formula is you have to calculate the distance of Y, that is this equation. Y equals to 4hx by L square into L minus x. Another equation is you have to remember normal thrust and radial shear. That formula is will be depends upon the given condition. Radial shear N equals to V sin theta plus H cos theta. Normal thrust Q equals to V cos theta minus H sin theta. This here we can observe here the moment at D that can be obtained by considering all the forces, including the reaction on any one part of the arch. Then we have to calculate the only normal thrust and horizontal reaction formulas only here. By calculating the same normal, first we have to find the reactions VA and VB. Then next we have to calculate the normal thrust H. To calculate the H, first we have to find the theta value. To find the theta, we have to know the value of summation of Fx and summation of Fy. And then once you will get the summation of Fx and Fy, then theta equals to tan inverse of summation of y by x. Then we'll find the angle. Once we'll get the angle, then you have to substitute in this equation. After knowing the value of V and H, then you have to substitute directly in this equation, and then we will get the total three-hinged arch equation. This is one of the method. So we'll see the two-hinged method. Here in our GATE classes, we are not solving the total problem, only some tips and then basics only we are knowing here. If you want in clearly means if we had to solve by using the GATE book, and then we had to take the previous question papers we had to solve. Here only we are discussing about the brief tips of the structural analysis arches. Okay, we are not solving here the problem, but here we are taking the notes and then we are remembering the formulas only. If you observe the two-hinged arches, in two-hinged arches there will be only two hinges will be there, not the third hinge will be present here, because at top there will be no hinge will be there here. But here if you consider, there will be two methods we are considering, Castiglione-First theorem and unit load method. These two-hinged arches may be by using the circular arch only. Again we will see the Castiglione theorem. In this Castiglione theorem already we know to support whenever the arch will be support at A, it will be being taken as the origin. And then some other distance, some other moment M dash be a beam moment that has to be find here. Moment due to applied loads on a beam of a span that must be equal to the whatever the horizontal force or horizontal load H. Okay, that horizontal thrust H equals to integration of M dash Y by ds by integration of Y squared ds. This is one of the method that has to be followed here. Another one is the unit load method. Unit load method also the same equation only, but here in unit load method we are assuming that unit load is only one load is acting as 1 kilonewton or 1 Newton, like that we are applying, and then we are finding the equation. Next we will see the analysis of the circular arch for two-hinged arches. The same formula, but y equals to two different, there will be no hinges at C. That's why we are considering the y equals to whatever the radius of the arch, r into cos theta into r minus h. That will be you have to find here, and ds will be the distance that has to be find total height. That ds will be equals to the r into d theta. D theta is the angle, ds is the h height. Okay, that we have to consider here, and then we have to find here. And the next one is a parabolic. Similarly, normal thrust and radial shear. The same formulas will be calculated for 2-hinged arches and 3-hinged arches also. Normal thrust formula n equals to v sin theta plus h cos theta. Normal shear, radial shear q equals to v cos theta minus h sin theta. This is one of the formula. And then we will see another one, analysis of the parabolic arch. Here in this analysis of the parabolic arch, you can observe the same equation. Dx by ds equals to tan theta. Tan theta equals to tan inverse of dx by ds, or we can find the h equals to the total our equation, horizontal equation. This horizontal member that will become when movement and distance is divided by the square root of the distance. Okay, m dash into y by y square into dx. This is the main formula for the analysis of the parabolic arch. Wherever the third horizontal reactions to find, wherever we have to find the horizontal reaction, our formula is integration of m dash y into dx by y square into dx. This is the one of the formula. In arches only we have these two categories only. One is 3-hinged arch parabolic arch equation to find that one by using the normal thrust and radial shear. Another one is a 2-hinged arches. For the 2-hinged arches also same equation you have to find here. Next one is the displacement of the statically determined beams here. Why again we went this condition means here we will see the analysis of axis of the loaded beam that has to be bent in curved shape. That bend in a curved shape is known as the elastic curve, or it will be called as the deformation curve. Okay, or deflection curve. That deflection curve in a mechanical component, the deflection plays an important role in determining the performance of the mission. Of any mission, there will be different methods are available here for finding the deflections of determined beams. There will be a double integration method, Maclaurin method, moment area method, and contributive beam method. For your GATE exams, they will ask what are the method that you had to be used for the determined curved shape structures. So like that they will ask. These are all the total methods are there. You have to write double integration method, Maclaurin method, moment area method, conjugative beam method, strain energy method, Castigliano's theorem method, unit load method. According to our structural analysis 2, we learned the last 3. Strain energy we learned, strain energy method, Castigliano's theorem also we learned, unit load method also we learned in that fixed beams itself, and the continuous beams itself we learned the moment area method and then conjugative beam method. These all methods are used for the curved shape structures. Next one is the relation between the curvature and the slope of the slope and deflection. Our equation is EI into d square by dx square equals to minus n. This is the bending equation. This one is already all of you know compulsory. This is the general equation. Once we will double integrate this equation, then we will get EI into dy by dx equals to integration of m. Again, we have to integrate the same equation. This dy by dx will be changes to the y. EI into y equals to minus double integration of m. This method is for every integration, one integral constant is occurs here. These all integral constants can be obtained by applying the boundary conditions. In each and every condition, we have to applying the boundary conditions, and then we are finding the different values. That one also already we know by solving the number of problems. Now we'll see what is meant by Maclaurin method. This method is very useful for complex loadings. Where we'll see this type of method, this type of Maclaurin method means in our StatPro, there we can take number of where the span is particularly loaded or the loaded with number of concentrated loads. There we can easily solve this one. Okay, it consists of successive integration of expressions for bending moment in such a way that the same constants of integration are valid here for all portions of the beam. Even though the law of bending moment differs from the portion to portion, there will be a difference between, suppose if you observe one column, there will be a total 10 or 20 loads you will be acting on that. There is a 100 kilonewton load is acting. For other column, there is only 10 kilonewton load is acting. The difference between these two loadings, how they will be balanced, and then how the procedure we had to adopt here. Now we'll see the step by step. First one is, first we have to write the general expression for the bending moment covering for all the loads just before the right hand side support. Again, we have to, a bracket is discredited when for a particular value of x that contains the bracket becomes the negative. That will be whenever we are considering the condition In that particular condition, we'll take this Maclaurin's method. This bracket terms is kept intact with the not multiplied out until a numerical subtractions made by x. That means you have to consider, suppose if you are taking a beam of AB, but we are taking at a distance of x. There will be one section will be there at a distance of x of y distance or xx section. For that section, you have to calculate by taking the brackets, and then we are keeping that up to that section. What is the moment? Like that, you have to calculate here. If there is a uniformly distributed load starting anywhere and extending up to the right, and then the general equation for bending moment will hold good for entire beam. However, if the loads does not exceed to the right end, the load may be extended up to the right end, and the equal and opposite load may be added to the counteract of the effect due to the additional load. If suppose we are adding, say one column is acting of 100 kilonewton load, another end of the column will be act as 10 kilonewton load, then how it will be balanced? Whatever this 100 kilonewton load will be tends towards the ground, that will be left or right side of the support. How it will be considering, and then equal and opposite. Suppose 100 kilonewton load is acting at top, simultaneously from bottom also it has to be resistance to keep that 100 kilonewton load. That we had to solve in this Maclaurin's method. Second one is the moment area method. Here there will be two theorems will be there for moment area method, that is double integration method. Another one is a normal M by E diagram method. This one is M over by EI diagram is one of the main important. This one already we solved in continuous beams problems. The change in the slope between the 2 points on a strike member under flexure conditions. This will be equals to the M over by EI diagram will be there between these 2 points. Our equation is theta equals to integration of M by EI into dx. That is the first equation, first theorem for moment area method. Second one is the deflection is a point in a beam in the direction perpendicular to its original straight line, that the position is measured from the tangent to the elastic curve, and the another point is given by the moment area, moment of M over by EI diagram about the point where the deflection is considered here delta. Okay, here delta equals to mx by EI into dx. This one is the second one. We are finding the displacement here. Displacement equals to displacement or deflection, both are same here. Delta equals to integration of mx at a distance of x, mx by EI into dx. Here the angle we are finding, that angle theta equals to integration of 0 to L or I to J m by EI into dx. This is a theorem 1, that is a slope. Theorem 2 is a deflection. Okay, slope and deflection we are calculating the 2 that are the moment area method by using these two equations. Next one is the conjugative beam method. This method is following the two methods, two theorems. The rotation of the point of a beam in which equal to the shear force in the conjugative beam. Second one is that the deflection at the point in a beam is equal to the bending moment. Here it will be equals to shear force. Here it is equal to the bending moment for a conjugate beam. Okay, next conjugative beam is an imaginary beam. We are assuming that there will be one more beam is there. That imaginary beam is a conjugative beam. But we are taking the rotation of a point is equal to shear force. Deflection will be equals to the bending moment. Like that we are assuming here in the conjugative beam method. The conjugative beam is an imaginary beam here of same span as the original beam loaded with the M over by EI diagram, and then of the original diagram of the original beam, such that the shear force and bending moment at a section will represent the rotation here, and the deflection at that section in the original beam that has to be obtained here. That all will be solved here in this conjugative beam method. That is one of the method. Now we'll see some more formulas and then definitions we have to observe here for a normal beams. Suppose for a original beam, it is a simply supported or a roller beam, slope will be 0, deflection will be 0. Simultaneously, for a simple supported beam, force and moment will be, force is not equal to 0, but moment equal to 0. Slope, if force is not equal to 0, moment is also not equal to 0 here. I have to observe clearly. Suppose if you take the second condition, in that second condition, hinged end, first one is the roller end. For roller end, we are considering. Second one is the hinged end. For this hinged end also same, slope is not equal to 0, deflection will be equal to 0. and then force is not equal to 0, moment is equal to 0. That is the second condition. And the third one is a fixed one, fixed end. Here both are 0, slope is 0 simultaneously, deflection also 0. For free end, we had to consider as a conjugative beams, we are considering as a, whatever the fixed end is there, that fixed end is considered as a free end, and then force and moment must be equal to 0 here. If suppose the original beam is a free end, then slope and deflection will be zeros. But in a conjugative beam, whatever you are assuming, that one is a free, no, that must not be a free end, that will be considered as a fixed end. Then if it is a fixed end, force and moment equal to 0 here. That was the fourth condition. If you see the fifth one, fifth condition, interior support, that means there will be one internal support will be there at center, then slope is not equal to 0 and continuous deflection equal to 0 here. Similarly, the force is not equal to 0 and continuous movement equal to 0 here. Whenever the slope, that must be related to the force, deflection, that must be relation to the movement here. Okay, and the last one is internal hinge and internal support. There will be in opposite directions. Then our conjugative beam is force is not equal to 0 and movement also not equal to 0 for discontinuous beams. Here also for normal original beam also, if it is a interior hinge will be there, there will be a slope will not be 0 and deflection also will not be equal to 0. These are all the total different conditions we have to assume here. That is only for arches, and then different methods of the structural analysis. Okay, that is the main important one, conjugative beam method, and then Macaulay's method, moment area method. These three is very, very important. Now we'll go for the strain energy method. The internal work which is stored in energy due to the straining energy of the material is called strain energy, or otherwise directly we'll say that the energy which is stored in the body within the elastic limit is called as a strain energy also. Okay, here what is meant by Castagnet's method? The published of the two important theorems here in Castagnet's theorem. First theorem will help us to determining the deflection of the determinate beams. Second theorem will helps us to determine the redundant reaction components of the indeterminate beams or indeterminate structure. In first theorem, we will find the deflection, and the second theorem, we will find the reactions. In a linearly elastic structure, partial derivative of a strain energy with respect to the load, partial derivative of the strain energy, that must be U, with respect to the load W, then the load and the deflection of the point will be acting here. The deflection is measured in the direction of the load. Our equation is strain energy stored in the equation equals to U equals to half into stress into strain into dV, that is a change in volume. Strain energy due to axial weight. All of you please note down, this one is very, very important. They will ask, they will give you load, and then they will give the area and length. They will ask you to find the strain energy due to axial load. For your GATE exams, for each and every previous sections also, they asked you to calculate the strain energy of a axial load, strain energy of a due to bending, strain energy due to shear stresses. These are all the formulas already we derived in our structural analysis, but here simply you have to remember this very easy formulas. Strain energy due to axial loads, U equals to P square L by 2AE. Here they will give the load, and then they will give the area, and then E will be, Young's modulus will be, sometimes they will give, otherwise you have to take directly 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square. You can calculate the strain energy due to axial load, and then strain energy due to bending. Our equation is U equals to 0 to L m square by 2EI into dx. Another one is the strain energy due to shear. The strain energy due to shear stress U equals to K into 0 to L B square by 2GA by dx. That is one of the method. Another one is the strain energy due to torsion U equals to square root of integration 0 to L T square by 2GI into dx. These are all the total 4 very, very important derivations for the strain energy. Then next we will go for the another one, the Castagnet's theorem. Unit load method. here dou u by dou p equals to delta is the first equation, dou u by dou m equals to theta is the second equation. Second, Castiglia's theorem 1 and Castiglia's theorem 2. According to this theorem, these equations, again we have to go for the unit load method. Here in this unit load method, we are considering the moment equation, strain energy due to moment, delta equals to 0 to L, m into small m, capital M is the moment acting on the section, small m is the due to unit load. We are assuming a unit load of 1 kilonewton, further the moment will be small m by EI into dx for beams. Okay, this is one of the formula. If you take for delta equals to PKL by AE, that will be for pin jointed trusses. This will be one more formula for pin jointed trusses. For trusses, one formula, and for beams, one formula. Beams is integration of 0 to L, m into m by EI. For pin jointed trusses, our formula is summation of PKL by AE. This is another equation. Next one, we will see the analysis of indeterminate structures by force energy methods. Up to now, whatever we seen or whatever we learned or the displacement methods. Now, whatever we are going to study, these are all the force methods, force energy methods. Okay. Analysis of the indeterminate structures that will be learned for the force structures. Just wait a second more. Okay, here in this force method, again, we will see what are the different conditions that has to be observed here. Consistent deformation method here, one of the main important method. In this method, we'll find the redundant forces that are identified by removing the restraint in the direction of the redundant forces and the release determinant structures that has to be obtained here. And then we will find some displacements of the given direction of the redundant forces. And then we are assuming some impose the condition for the displacement compatibility to the additional loads. And then we are solving some more equations for the redundant forces. That means if you take the truss, for the truss, two unknown forces will be there. We are finding the one more third unknown forces. Only if there will be two unknown forces, then only it will be easy for us to calculate the two unknown forces. By applying the redundant forces on the released structure as determined, that will be resist in the analysis. And then we can find here that is one of the method that has to be obtained here. Next one is whenever we are applying for a different types of unit load methods. Now we'll observe here analysis of the proper cantilever. The proper cantilever itself we told already. There will be one more support will be there at the far end or at center. These are all the proper cantilever. There will be 1 degree of freedom will be there internally. And the support C of the beam ACB will be removed to make a structure determined. We are removing this structure C, this support, and then we are assuming that this will be a determined structure. If there will be a support is there, then it will be an indeterminate structure. Why means there will be 4 equilibrium equations. 4 equations will be there, but we have only 3 equilibrium conditions. But we are taking this one will be a neglecting here, and then we are removing this one, and then we are considering this one as a determinate structure. The deflection at the point C is computed, that will be there. Some deflection will be there. That deflection will be delta C1. We are considering here. Whatever the loading is removed here and the redundant forces R is equal to the unknown reactions of C, then it will be applied to the deflection C that will be worked out in the deflections of delta C2. Whether it will be in downward direction or upward direction, whether it's based on the reaction, we are considering, we are adding this delta C1 and delta C2 at the same level, and then beam is loaded, then we are considering that there will be a sinking support will be there at downward direction. Okay. For this, we are finding the different equations by the rotation and the obtained by the analysis. So if suppose we are taking the fixed end, fixed condition, we are taking the different slopes by using the conditions of considering the fixed beam. Let end supports or end moments will be developed of MFAB, that is a fixed end moments. To find these fixed end moments, the consistent deformation method may be used here. Taking a simply supported beam as a basic determinant structure, the redundant forces of MFAB, that is a fixed end moments, will be at a slopes of theta A and theta B. And the rotations of A and B is given by the loading theta A1 and theta B1. And the rotations of A and B, maybe MFAB will be theta 2 and theta A and theta B. Rotations will be similar. Okay, now we'll see the formula, then will be easy for us. Okay, this is our general slope deflection equation to find the wherever the slopes will be there, fixed end moments. For a UDL, there will be fixed end moments will be for MFAB is WL square by 12. That all we have to consider here. That we'll see here. According to our conjugative beam method, we have one more formulas for according to the reactions. If there will be any deflections will be there, our equation is deflection or slope. For that slopes, if suppose the slope will be at A, MFAB by 3I by L. If the slope is at B, MFAB L by 6EI. Okay. If the reaction is at A2, the theta A will be, the changes will be there. 2 theta A plus theta B or 2 theta B plus theta A. Like that, the difference will be there here. That only the formula we are writing here. Theta A equals to MFAB into L by 3EI by L plus MFBA into L by 6EI by L equals to L by, we are distributing all and then we are finding the theta A and theta B by using our equation. What is our equation is MAB equals to MFAB plus 2 plus MFAB plus 2 MFBA or MFBA plus 3EI 2 theta A plus theta B plus 3 delta by L, where delta will be the slope that will be, if there will be any deflection is there, delta will be there, otherwise no deflection will be there. That has to be considered according to our slope deflection equation. If you consider the Castigliano's theorem, already we know that the Castigliano's theorem states that strain energy with respect to the redundant forces, that must be equal to 0. Strain energy dou U by dou M or dou U by dou R is the redundant forces, must be equal to 0. That is a second theorem. Okay. According to our slope deflection equation, main assumptions of the slope deflection equation, this is also very important. Every time they will ask the slope deflection assumptions. We are thinking that there is a 3 assumptions are there. First one is we are considering all the joints are rigid, but the angle between any 2 members at the joint does not change even after deformation due to loading. That is the first assumption. Second assumption is distortion due to axial deformation is neglected here. That is whatever the distortion of B dash 2, that must be equals to the C dash. And then the shear deformations are neglected here. Again, here we are considering some sign conversions here. The sign conversions are clockwise moment will be as positive and anti-clockwise moment as negative. This is already we know. Theta 1 and theta 2 are the positive rotations. Here you can observe this one. This is a total normal B. Due to some loading, first assumption, the theta angle between the 2 beams or 2 members will not change even after deformation also. If it will be a theta, after deformation also it will be the same theta. And then the second assumption is B dash must be equals to C dash. Whatever the deflection will be changes from 1 beam and that's 2 sides will be the same. That will be our second assumption. And the third assumption is moment will be the same whenever the moment will be at BC position, that moment will be the same as for AB. Again, one more problem of method is there here. There will be some settlement will be there. For that settlement, we are taking as delta. The main basic slope equation is MAB equals to MFAB plus 2EI by L into 2 theta A plus theta B minus 3 delta by L. This is our main equation for slope deflection equation, a very, very important one. For your GATE exams and for your normal competitive exams, this will be very useful. whenever they are confusing, they will give the formula and then they will confusing you to give theta A and plus 2 theta B or plus 3 delta by L, like that they will give. Had to remember the formula, and then already we derived this one in our structural analysis. MAB equals to MFAB plus 2A by L into 2 theta A plus theta B minus 3 delta by L. Where this delta by L is a sinking, whenever there is a no sinking, this will be a 0. 2 times starting rotation will be 2 times A, and the other rotation will be the 1 time that you had to check here. A will be the starting means 2 times A, B will be the starting means 2 times B. It is one of the formulas, and then here we can see some more important formulas. If it will be fixed beam, central point load is there. MAB will be WL square by L. If it is a eccentric load, WAB square by L square. If it is a UDL, our formula is WL square by 12. If it is a UDL of uniformly varying load, the formula will be changes from starting end and another end. These are all the main different formulas that has to be used for your GATE exams. Next, we'll see the continuous beams. Continuous beams is already, we know each span is taken as a fixed one. And then fixed end beams will be calculated here by using the slope deflection equations. And then we are applying some boundary conditions here. Plus we are taking the joint equilibrium conditions. The joint equilibrium conditions will be at, suppose A, B, C like that will be there. At B, we are taking the joint equilibrium conditions BA plus BC equal to 0. If C is not a fixed, we are considering as MCB equal to 0. Like that we are considering, and then we are solving the equations to find the frames without sway, and then we are calculating here. Frames with sway, there will be different conditions will be there. Unsymmetrical of geometry, non-uniform section, like that you can observe here. There will be number of points. If suppose the frames will be there for a continuous beams or for a slope deflection method, this is the main formula to find the horizontal reaction HA. HA equals to whatever the MAB and MBA we have calculated minus whatever the load acting on that horizontal direction multiplied by the distance of that equation. Okay, MAB plus MBA minus P into A by total distance. That is one of the equation for HA. Similarly, the taking of the moment at the right side, HD, our equation is MDC plus MCD minus MCD by LCD. This main horizontal equations that we had to derived in the previous classes. That is the main formulas for slope deflection methods. Now we'll go for the moment distribution method. In today's class, we'll see arches and then arches formula, strain energy formulas, slope deflection formulas, and then now last one is the moment distribution method. This moment distribution method, there are number of times they asked the same question, that is, who suggested this moment distribution method? The moment distribution method is suggested by the Hardy-Cross in early of 1930s. For fairly, why it has to be used means for higher degrees of indeterminate structures, this method is ideally suited. There will be more number of highly degrees of integration will be there. Indeterminates are there. We can prefer this one. Okay. Here there will be one of the main important factor is there, that is the carryover moment. When a moment is applied at one end of a member, that member will be allowing the rotation to the end of the allowing the rotation that end and fixing the fore end. Some moment develops at the fore end also. This moment is called as the carryover moment. Thus, AB is shown in figure. I will show the figure. M is the moment applied at A, allowing the rotation at A, and then M dash is the moment developed at B. That is, M dash is carryover moment. Whatever the M load is acting at that particular point A, automatically if you are taking any load on your head, two hands will move. If you take the left hand, we are carrying the 10 kg of load, automatically right hand also will take the sum of the load, and then it will be, you can observe it will not be in a straight position. There will be some movement will be observed here. That is a carryover moment. If you take the carryover factor is nothing but the ratio of carryover moment to the applied moments is called carryover factor. Okay, carryover factor here, you can observe, all of you observe this diagram. Here the moment is considering as M. Automatically another direction it will be considered as M dash. M dash is nothing but the half of the moment is considering on the fore end. That is one of the important bit here. For a moment distribution method, carryover moment is m equals to m dash or m equals to m by 2. Like that you had to write. And then another formula is there, stiffness. That stiffness is nothing but the moment required to rotate an end by using an angle of 1 radian. When rotation is permitted here, then the stiffness k equals to m by theta a. That will be the formula. M is the moment and the slope will be the theta here. If forend is fixed, our formula is 4ei by L. The carryover factor is half. If the forend is fixed, if the forend is fixed, if it is not a fixed, it is a hinged one. If forend is hinged, it is a 3i by L. Then our carryover factor is 0 here. Then similarly, you have to find the distribution factor. Distribution factor is the sum of the stiffness factors, and then our formula is stiffness factor by summation of the stiffness factors. And then continuous beams with fixed ends. We are assuming that all the ends are fixed here, and then we are calculating the distribution factors, and then carry over half the distributed factor here, and then we are repeating the same procedure 3 or 4 times. Again, here in moment distribution method also there will be sinking supports will be there. For that support also we are taking the consideration by using the frames. If you go for the frames also without spray and with the spray we can consider here. For that also there will be horizontal reactions will be there. That horizontal reactions also we have to calculate it here by using the same fixed end moment conditions, the moment distribution method. By using that moment distribution method, if it is a sinking support will be there, the horizontal moments will be changes MAB plus MBA by L1. For B point, MCD plus MDC by L2. That is the main formulas that has to be considered here. If there is side sway will be there, our equation is HA plus HD S dash. That will be a sway will be formed due to the force plus HA plus HD equal to 0. That is one of the equation that we have to be considered here. Next we go for the last topic. That is the basic concepts of the matrix method. Here it is the 2 methods will be there. One is flexibility method and other one is the stiffness method. By using the matrix method, we are solving here the analysis. First, we are identifying the basic determination of the structure. And then we are finding some redundant forces. And then we have to check the how many number of redundant forces are there. That must be equals to a degree of static indeterminacy or not. First, we have to check. And then we are finding the equations to solve the redundant forces here. Then the required quantities at any sections can be calculated here by developing the matrix equation. These will be matrix problems will be once we have to solve 1 or 2 problems, then only it will be easy for us. By using the simultaneous equations, there is no limit for the number of equations that will be handled here. Force, flexibility and compatibility method is used here. Stiffness method is used by the unknown displacement. Flexibility method is used to find the unknown forces. Okay, these are the 2 methods that has to be obtained here. By using the different conditions, I will show the diagrams. Here you can observe clearly. For a single by single story building, you can observe there will be deflections and then a horizontal redundant forces you had observed here. Example you are taking here. If it is a single by single story for a coordinated structures, there will be movements will be at different points wherever the sway forces will be there, wherever the joints will be there, A, B, C like that. And then due to the slopes also we are considering here. If you observe here, the stiffness method, flexibility method, the structure has n number of coordinators. The displacement must be response to the forces recommended here. If suppose if you take the stiffness matrix, the structure has n number of coordinators, but the force response here, see the difference. F, flexibility means displacement response. Stiffness means force response. Its force is responsible to the displacement. Here, its displacement is responsible to the force. This is the formula. By taking the how we are taking this K1 delta 1 delta 2 is that according to our equations only we are considering this matrix form, and then the relation between these two is whatever the deflection is there, that delta equals to, this will be the displacement into force. That is our equation. Flexibility matrix delta equals to, this one is a displacement. We had assuming this displacement into P, and stiffness factor P equals to K into delta, and then moment of inertia I equals to K into delta, like that we had to considering here by identify the matrix. Flexibility matrix method is the main force method. That will be compatibility method. Here we are assuming. There will be, here we can find the number of unknown forces. Once we'll solve one by one, step by step compatibility conditions here. The deformations of that indeterminate structure give the final equations here to solve the step by step procedure of the required solution by using the flexibility method. And then we can determine the degree of statically, whether it will be static determinacy or static indeterminacy, that we had to find here. And then we had to find the choose the redundant, and then we assign the coordinates to the redundant forces directions, and then we will find the determine the deflections in the coordinates due to the given loading structures, and then we will find the determine the flexibility matrix. This flexibility matrix and the stiffness matrix methods that we had to find the displacements and forces. How we will find means, if suppose there will be one equation is there, ax plus b plus c. In that condition, A, B, C, whatever that A, B, C will be a force or displacements, that will be, we had to write as a matrix form. Whatever we learned in flexibility method, that same will be continued to the finite element method now. For your final year, we can have one more subject, that finite element methods. There we can see this matrix methods, only matrix method. Here in structural analysis, we will see only how we'll divide the displacements and how we'll divide the matrix that we have to check here. Okay, and the stiffness method is nothing but it is also a displacement method, that will be an equilibrium method. This displacement method have some basic unknowns here. That basic unknowns that has to be found by using the equilibrium method, and that will be solved by step by step procedure of the stiffness matrix method by the structures approaches. By using the same 6 methods. First one is the first we have to find whether you have to determine the degree of kinematic indeterminacy. How we'll find the kinematic indeterminacy means by the given diagram. First we will see the external indeterminacy and then internal indeterminacy. Based on that we can find the kinematic indeterminacy. Once we'll find the kinematic indeterminacy is 3, 2 or 1 like that, then we have to assign the coordinate numbers to the unknown displacements. And the third one is we will impose the restraints in all the coordinated directions to get fully restrained structures. And the fourth one is we have to determine the forces that will be developed in each of the coordinate directions of a fully restrained structure, that will be a P force. And the fourth one is we will determine the stiffness matrix here by giving the unit displacement method in each and in each coordinate directions to find the forces here to develop in the coordinate directions, and then we'll find the final values, final forces that will be varied in the directions, in different directions, that has to be obtained. Okay, this is our formula that we had to be take here from the form and solve the stiffness equations here. That stiffness equations has to be calculated here. K into delta equals to P minus PL, and the displacement will be calculated here. And then we had to calculate the member of forces by using the joint displacements. This one is a total structural analysis for gate preparation. Up to stiffness method, flexibility method, we had to know about strain energy, arches, slope deflection method, moment distribution method. Total structural analysis 1 and 2 combinedly we can know for your gate. This one is the main number of important formulas are there that you had to learn, and then you had to practice well for your competitive exams. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you to one and all. Thank you so much.